I wanted to take a moment and share in a video a major life change that I've been going through for the last couple months, and I've kind of just hit that change right now. I've been in the business of education for a long time, almost 20 years in total. I started my career as a science teacher at Northeast High School in Kansas City, Missouri. I worked there for 9 years. I later left and helped open a charter school in Harlem in New York City. At the time, that's when all those charter schools were opening up, and it was really kind of saving that school district and that, well, the biggest school district in the country. And it was an awesome feat. It was a very challenging thing. And then I came back and I spent a little more time in Kansas City working at Lincoln High School. And then I ultimately switched to the Christian school system. I eventually became the head of school of a Christian school, and that's where I was until I recently quit. Throughout that entire time, I've been from being a young man to being an older middle-aged guy. I've been a Christian through and through. I strongly believe in Jesus Christ and what He came and died for, and I strongly believe in the church, that it is the bride of Christ. What I have seen in my 30 years as a Christian man who loves Jesus and loves the church is I've seen something very different, very, very different recently. I can only speak to the two counties I live in and work in. I live and was born and raised in Jackson County, Missouri, but I work in Johnson County, Missouri. And there was a point over the summer where I was going through the Revelation series, and I got to the part of Revelation where I talked about the corrupt church, and I was in Washington at the time. And I made a video that was just uncanny, uncut. I kind of just let it out, what I think about the church and what God has to say about the church. And when my wife saw the video, she said, "You messed up. You're going to lose a bunch of your fans. A lot of people are going to be angry at you. What you said is probably going to make most of the people that watch your channel upset." Within 24 hours, that video had over 60,000 views with tens of thousands of thumbs up and only a few thumbs down. And everybody was commenting, "My church in Oklahoma is corrupt. My church in Canada, my church in Australia, my church in England." All over the world, people are having these exact same experiences. And at the time, anger started stirring. The Spirit of God was stirring in me, and it was stirring up a righteous anger in me about the corruption of the church. And it is a righteous anger. God is not okay with what it is the church is doing in America and apparently all over the world. They're consuming resources unlike anything else, and there's hypocrisy unlike anything else. As a Christian ministry, as a little tiny country Christian school in the middle of a county, Johnson County, that desperately needed funding to teach kids about the Word of God in a school, my personal church, a big mega church in the town I grew up in that has a budget of $20 million, could not help buy 3 window unit air conditioners when I first started there because I just wanted all the classrooms to have air conditioning. However, $25,000 guitars are on their budget. Big churches all over Johnson County doing literally nothing to help the common man or the community or their neighbor, yet they're consuming millions to simply put on the Sunday show. They are consuming the sacrifices of the altar, and God is not okay with it. And in the Old Testament, God turned a guy inside out for consuming the sacrifices of the altar. There's a prison ministry in Johnson County called Standing in the Gap. Find them on Facebook. Help those guys out. They're awesome. But they reached out to me one time because as a school, we actually tithe. That's, I could give a whole sermon on tithing and how important it is, but we tithe because we needed money and we were leaning on God, not on man, to do it. And I became friends with the local prison ministry, And there was a day they called me and they were ministering to I couldn't remember if it was a man or a woman in a prison system, and their spouse was out of prison and homeless, and they have a house for women and they have a house for men coming out of prison, but this was a couple. They didn't have a house for a married couple. So when the one got out of prison, they were trying to set them up in some housing, and they reached out to all the local churches. And they eventually reached out to the biggest church in Johnson County, which told them that they were all too busy, that none of them could talk. And when they finally got a pastor on the phone, he just essentially told them, don't bother us, we're too busy, click. And then that little tiny Christian school that's super broke ended up putting that couple up in housing. Somehow our little broke Christian school did it. But the millions, the tens of millions of dollars that's going to all the churches in this county, none of them can help. None of them help his ministry either. A lot of them will let him come and talk and act like they are helping, but when the dollar leaves the wallet, there's nothing there. It's all being consumed within the four walls. It's just one of the many, many things wrong with the churches. So one day, I just had this righteous anger growing in me, and one day I was praying about it, and God led me to the book of Malachi, and I had this desire to say something about it. There was just this words that needed to come out, and as I read the book of Malachi, the very first verse is, the burden of the word of the Lord to Malachi, and my shoulders dropped and my head dropped, and I just thought, it is a burden. And the book of Malachi is a heavy criticism of the priests. It was also the very last time God talked to a prophet before the coming of Jesus Christ. And it was a heavy criticism of the priests. And then in that moment, God told me to go through the book of Malachi verse by verse and start a series called something like The Problem with Churches. Now, when he told me to do that, I thought, well, God, when in the world will I have time to do that? Because it's important this gun channel stay a gun channel. And we're already doing the end of time and on time, as well as it's going to cause a lot of conflict with the school. These churches, as I talk about them, they'll know who I'm talking about. And they will associate me with that school, and it'll cause a lot of division and a lot of hatred towards the school. And I love that school, and that worried me as well. And that's when God said, well, I need you to do this thing, and I need you to step out. So I'm officially, Friday was my very last day as a principal. And when I wake up Monday morning, I'll start my first day as a full-time YouTuber. Now, what this means for this channel is several different things. It has to stay a gun channel. It's very important that it stay a gun channel. When people would have asked me a year ago, is this a ministry to you? Well, of course it is. Yes, it's a ministry. It still has to be the primary focus, because the idea of why is it a ministry is that if people can find God or grow closer to God because of a common love of a hobby like a gun, that's awesome, whether it be guns or lawnmowers or vacations or whatever it is people are tuning in on YouTube. If they can find God in that, that's awesome. And that's really what this channel has been. But I partnered with God on this in the very beginning, and which is why we put scripture in the end. It's why we take prayer requests. That wasn't part of the plan. It's just what God said to do. And now he's kind of saying, I need you to, in his own words to me, blow a trumpet on this. So guns will still absolutely be our primary focus on this channel, but now that this is a full-time thing, we're going to increase the gun content at the same time. Typically, we're putting out about 2 to 3 videos a week for the last 5 years. We're bumping that up to 6 to 7 starting Monday. 3 to 4 of them will be gun content, Second Amendment, or current event related things revolving around gun related stuff. 3 of them will be biblically related. 2 will continue the End of Time series where we're going through the book of Revelations on Wednesday and Saturday, and 1 will be The Problem with Churches, which will start airing on Sunday morning. The gun content will be every Tuesday, and we'll try to get a Wheel Gun Wednesday in on Wednesdays, and then there'll be more gun content on Friday and Saturday. I partnered with God on this channel, and this is what he's told me to do with it, and I'm going to be obedient to it. Already he's rewarded this channel. What I'm going to say about these videos is please engage in them. When I posted that video, your comments really kind of drove a lot of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Your comments are extremely important to me. Your feedback is huge, especially when we talk about the problem with churches. It's very important that you share what it is your experiences are as well, so the rest of the world can see it. Because again, my experience is just Jackson and Johnson County, Missouri. I can't speak to the rest of it. Only you can speak to the rest of it. Also, your ideas have led a lot of the content that we put on this channel. We often put out a video, hey, what do you want to hear about? And your feedback drives a lot of the content on this channel. Oftentimes the best ideas really do come from you. So, you know, having more time to put out more content is gigantic, because for 5 years I've been the head of a school and putting out videos at the same time. And now that I'm just putting out videos, it's pretty exciting. It's an exciting page. I'm honored that God is using me in this way to blow a trumpet on what the bride of Christ really looks like, and the consumption of the sacrifices of the altar and what that looks like. I can't wait to get through this series. We're going to go through Malachi verse by verse, and then I'm going to compare it, what God's condemnation on the church is, to my own experience along the way. And then I'll also share some of your all's experience along the way as well, as you give that feedback. I'm going to miss education tremendously. I always jokingly said I've been in the business of education since I was in kindergarten. It's just one side of the desk or the other. I've always been in school. I started kindergarten, and then I went all the way through high school, and then through college, then went back and got my master's, and then I started teaching. I've always been in school, whether I've been a teacher or a principal or a student. I love the business of education, and I'm going to miss it tremendously. I love that little school. If you ever feel a desire to give to Johnson County Christian Academy in Centerview, Missouri, I highly recommend you look them up and you give to them. It's an awesome little school. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm going through. Monday starts the big day. I've spent the last several weeks just getting a new principal in place and kind of help him just find his way through. And my last day as a principal was 2 Fridays ago, but my last day actually on the job was just yesterday. And then Monday, it's a whole new beginning. And God, Family, and Guns has just taken a whole new step, and God is going to bless the heck out of it. So I think what's going to happen is, a year from now, this channel is going to be in a place where I could have never even imagined it. I don't even know what it'll look like a year from now, but I know that God is in the driver's seat, and I can't wait to put this content out. Please give your feedback and let us know what you think. But yeah, I'm done with education, 20 plus years, and it ended yesterday. So if you like this video, click like and subscribe. If you feel called to support our channel through Patreon, that link is below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, so never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.